So, and today we've got another interview, and today we've got Jeremy C. Spires, and we're going to talk about his books and everything along them lines, basically. So, Jeremy, your new book, would you like to talk about it, basically?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely.
So, the new book is it's called Shockwave. It's a brand new series called Ashes of Eternity. Don't ask me how I generated that name because I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So Shockwave focuses on a civil war that takes place on Earth about 80 years in the future. Doesn't seem like it's going to be that far now. And basically, a group of radical religionists, we'll say, they decide that they're going to take over the planet. And a group of scientists have built a starship, and we're going to escape and run away and try and get free of all the nonsense and the madness. So they take off and run to Mars and then go on from there and end up developing a very advanced society.
That sounds really cool. Okay, so I've got questions now. Does everyone leave, or is it like, do people stay who are fighting the religious lot, and then just the scientists, they've gone? Because I'm really curious now. You've really got me interested.
So the scientists and I would say like a large percentage of soldiers, like strong soldiers, special operators, that sort of thing, they all flee on the starship. Is actually what ends up happening, which creates a, how could you say, like a very research conscious but also heavily military environment on the New World.
Okay, cool. Right, so I don't know how much spoilers you want to go into, so that's completely down to you. This is so. Just want to say, if the spoilers, are we going to spoil? How much are we going to spoil? Because I won't go.
We'll give it about a 10% spoiler.
10% spoil. Okay, so we are 10% spoiling. So if you don't want to be spoiled, just pretend you didn't hear what we're talking about. Okay, so they go to Mars first, and then they go, just expand. They just.
Right. So after they leave Mars, they take a little bit of time and kind of refine their faster than light travel. So they're using a guide that they find on Earth, which actually sparks the entire Civil War, and it's very well expanded on and read through in the book. But basically, they're expanding on a design that was left by an alien race, and they end up traveling to predetermined coordinates by this alien race and finding a planet that is hidden inside of a nebula that orbits a standard star. So not that different from Earth, I guess you would say, but. They don't really know how it got there until later into the second book, which is called Requiem of a Nightmare.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's interesting. So, are the aliens involved, or is that a bit of a mystery? Are they like? Go on.
So the aliens that are involved, there's a variety of races, of course, as there always is. But the primary, I guess you would say, well, we're not going to spoil that actually. Okay. So the aliens that humanity is most associated with is a race called the Cetoplans, and they are actually the inadvertent creators of humanity.
Cool. Okay, I like that. So, I just want to know more about this book now. So, the guys, it's all spoilers, but do they plan on going back to Earth, or are they kind of like leaving that issue to expand with their lives?
Right. So, what ends up happening is there's a lot of genetic science involved in the books. Okay, so without spoiling it too much, basically what happens is one. Okay, let me put an outline together. That's a little easier. So the planet is called Vandor. Okay, that's the name of the planet where the human scientists and military types flee to. So they create a more genetic conscious society, eliminate disease, eliminate old age. So the humans live for 400 or 500 years, which would be awesome. But then one person of power, a politician, he decides that he wants to reunite with Earth and figure out exactly why the war started, which not a terrible idea, but it turns out to be a terrible idea. So the religious faction, which is called the Legion of the Felb, they come after the Vandorian people and don't realize how powerful the Vandorians are, but the Felbs have a lot more resources because they have a much bigger population. And they end up creating a massive fleet of starships and running Vandorians off their planet, which is where the hero of the story, Destota Valentine, he comes into play. definitely, kind of a hardcore special operator badass, and he's fighting against the Phelps, and he's fighting against himself because he's genetically augmented. But it was one of those things they didn't really know what was going to happen when they genetically augmented some of their people, and so they created these soldiers to try and be like Master Chief style, but it fails in a way. They become very unstable. So that's about the premise.
Okay, I like that. Right. So is it mostly a ground battle, or is it space battles? What sort of action takes place? That's what I like. So
it's nonstop, basically from page one. It starts out battle on Earth between the Phelps. The Phelps have taken over the United States, the UK, all the major powers. They're trying as best they can to crush the people before they can leave the planet. Then it evolves into, training sequences, and then ground battles and space battles and starfighter battles. There's an epic starfighter battle in the first book. More of those to come too.
Oh,
but it's a combination of a few, actually.
I like this. Okay, this sounds really interesting. Oh, I really want to read your book now. Okay, so this book has come out now, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It was actually released on the 4th of July here in the US, and I think it came out on the 7th of July in the UK.
Okay, so what's your plans for the next book then?
So the next book is actually already done. It's already available for ebook and audio. That one follows more of the story of main characters. I can't stand a series that changes main characters constantly. That drives me crazy. So all of my books in this series will follow these characters. Well, for the most part, but more on that later.
You kill them off. You kill them off.
I'm sorry, what?
You do kill your people off, don't you? Or is it because of the science?
It's because of the science. There's a lot of death. It's unfortunate. And it's a war. People die in war, unfortunately.
I'm a favor of people. I don't like people dying, but I'm a favor of people dying in books. Like, it's more realistic for me if people do die.
Yeah, that's that was part of my problem with my very first book. I put a little too much God mode into it. Like, main character was a little too powerful. So
that's my issue as a fan who reads books. It's like, if you know someone's safe, for me it pulls the tension away, because it's like, I know they're going to make it. Where even if, like, they're going to make it, but other people may die who are with them, who you do like, it's a bit like, oh, are they going to kill them? Are they not? Like, when they do die, you're like, oh, I feel that, where if I know the merry crew's always going to make it, sort of, I don't know. Yeah,
it kind of takes the fun out of it. But yeah, no, I'm kind of a Game of Thrones style. Sometimes I go full Red Wedding and wipe out the entire group.
I do. That's good. I do remember when I first saw that. Okay, yes, keep going. Book 2 or second, or the sequel to this one we're talking about.
Yeah, so it of course it follows the storyline. But humans kind of come together after a really long civil war that lasts a total of it actually lasts 6,000 years, but. There's a pretty brutal civil war, and the humans actually find out that an alien race has been their enemy, and they didn't realize it. And so instead of, they try to make peace, they try to talk about it a little bit, and then these aliens called Gilbaglians, which that name pisses my narrator off so bad. It's always they decided that, they can't play nice in the galaxy, so they humans go to war with them, and it's a really long, brutal, savage war between an avian race, oversized birds, as it were, and humans. And it goes on from there. There's an extragalactic group, 2 extragalactic groups, actually, good and bad, that make their appearance in that story. So it gets pretty exciting.
Right. Okay. So you're expanding the pool of species and what's going on in the galaxy, then that's sort of what you're aiming for, I take it.
Yeah, so basically it's not just one galaxy, 2 actually. And
cool.
Requiem really dives into the politics of the opposite galaxy as well. there's warring races there. I can't reveal anything because of a
No,
new
don't
trilogy.
spoil too much. We're in book 2 now. Let's not spoil nothing. We'll just sort of skim it just to make it interesting.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of I try to add, real elements into things. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of backroom dealing, and then on top of it, there's a lot of war. I mean, I try not to mirror real life too much because real life sucks, but I do try to make it true to what we see in our world.
That's good. I like that. Okay. All right, cool. So your audio, you wanted to talk something about your audio book or something, I believe.
Yeah, so I actually do have Shockwave is coming out. It's completed. We're hoping to see it sometime this month, if not probably the first week of October. Done by a guy named Garrett Michael Brown. He did the audio for book 2 as well. Absolutely phenomenal narrator. We're really looking forward to this one coming out. Both of us are, because I wouldn't say I'm a great writer. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm very good at it at all, but this guy really brings the book to life, and I'm super excited about it.
That's cool. Oh, I like that. Okay. What was I going to say now? So what got you into writing? Explain to me a bit of your journey, because obviously you're a newer writer, and if someone's going to want to watch this, they're going to want to know about you. So,
sure. Well, this is pretty bad actually. So you can, we're going to bring out the real nerd in me here. So what ended up happening is back in '98, I was about 10 years old, and we had these online message boards called Easy Board back in the day. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that one, but I was a big Star Wars geek, and my sister got online and she found these things, and they were turn-based text role-playing games. So kind of like D&D, but you write the story instead of acting it out with an avatar, right? So I started writing in those in 1998, so 22 years ago now. And I kept doing that up until about 7 years ago, and it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it was Star Wars based, so I was a Jedi Knight and it was badass and everything. It was good times. But that's how I got my start in writing. I really enjoyed that, and it kind of it changes your perspective because you're always writing with someone new. So you're collaborating nonstop. You're creating new worlds, new characters, you're constantly building a environment that wouldn't otherwise exist. So it expanded my ability to write from terrible to slightly less terrible, basically. But yeah, so I started writing my first novel when I was 17, about 15 years ago now. And that one I released, and I really wish I wouldn't have.
But you've got to get your first one out to learn, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's always a learning curve. I pride myself on learning every day. So that's Shockwave. Actually, Requiem of a Nightmare was released before Shockwave, even though it's the second book in the series, because I actually completely abandoned and rewrote the first book, which was titled Shadow of Eternity. It was completely terrible, and I don't want anybody to read it.
So how did you find the process of when you did your first and the second book, the two main books that you've got? How did you find that process and getting it up and out? And
well, do you mean the process of writing or like the process of publishing?
Bit of both, really. Like the writing, yeah. But how did you find the writing of doing it to then when you actually then finished and you was happy with what you got to then sticking it, and then the process of putting it through to sell it?
So the process that I use, I was in the military. I have a lot of family members, a lot of friends that are in the military, and basically every single event in all of my books that are written about military are based on true events, right down to the assault on the gun emplacements in book 1, Shockwave. That was actually a battle taking place by my great uncle, my grandfather, in World War II. So I draw a lot of that, and then I try to add a lot of humor because I like funny books. Like when I served in the Army, it wasn't always serious. You're not always on the front line.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then the process of publishing, I initially went out for a big publisher, like everyone does. I've spoken with some of the smaller publishers, and I don't want to say it's a clique, and I don't want to speak ill of anyone. Definitely don't want to speak ill of anyone, but it's very difficult to get into. So I talked it over with some friends. I talked it over with my wife, and we ultimately decided that self-publishing was the way to go. And then I found out that it's actually a lot easier than a lot of folks think. Hiring a really good editor, something I didn't do to begin with. That's a big part of it. A really big part of it is having a good editor. But otherwise, self-publishing is something I would recommend to any aspiring author. It's a lot easier than people think it is.
You're going to talk about, you spoke about your the actions that happen in the book. Is there any more like events that actually have happened that you want to, or that action, like, you're saying how like true events have happened and stuff. Is there anything else that's actually happened in real life to you or your friends and or family and stuff that's actually happened in the book? Is there anything more that you've tried to put in there?
Yeah, actually, the third book of the series, which is called Night Stalkers, that one's in production right now, and it's going to be a really heavy, very powerful book. And the reason for that is that, so the war is over with the Gilpaglians that took place in the second book. And without giving away too much, of course, these soldiers are forced to come home. And of course, they're genetically engineered, as I said before, to fight war. And so they don't know anything else. And no one really knew what was going to happen to them when they modified them. So now they're coming home and they're fighting with post-traumatic stress. They're fighting drug and alcohol addiction. They're fighting suicide. They're fighting their own demons. And that's something it's very near and dear to my heart. I've lost a lot of friends to suicide after we all served. And I really don't like it. I don't like seeing veteran suicides in any capacity from any country in any branch. So it's something I try to draw a little bit of awareness to in the books and try and, make folks understand that there's always a war to fight after the war is over.
I like that in a book where you try, it helps humanize the characters, and it does sort of shine a light on true things that actually do happen to people. Because even though these are, they're science, sci-fi stories, and it's made up of aliens and all these things going on, war affects people and how it affects people and stuff, and how it obviously affects real people, and it's going to affect people as a character, and it helps make a character more believable and likable if they do have whatever the level of issues they personally have, whether you see it big or small, depending on whatever your story is. I like that because it does it. Like I said, it helps. I don't know, it just sort of fleshes them out, and obviously you're shining a light on true things that do happen, which suck majorly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it's good that you're doing it. Like, I think it does need representing more, because a lot of sci-fi, military, and all that stuff, it glorifies like wars. As much as we like reading war stories and the action and the fun of reading it, there's still the true effects of what it does, and putting that in there as well sort of grounds it. You know what I mean? I like that.
Yeah, that's always been my issue with a lot of the sci-fi I've read. From anything from Star Wars books all the way, to some of the more modern sci-fi, and it's like you got these swashbuckling soldiers and they're hardcore and they're good, and which is great. I mean, there's no, everyone loves a hero, but nobody really talks about what happens after the battles, and that's what I really wanted to bring into it, was how much trauma and stress even a futuristic soldier goes through. I mean, killing another creature is still killing another creature, no matter how you spin it. So I really wanted to bring that into it. And there's a lot of this new one takes on a new angle, swerves away from the warfare as much. And there's a lot of political intrigue as well, which I'm not a fan of politics in any capacity, but I do enjoy a good, conspiracy theory, as it were. So I really got into that a lot. There's an attempted coup. There's another serious takeover attempt. And then there's the revelation in book 3 is, I think, honestly, what is going to draw a lot of my readers to blow their mind, because I'm not the kind of person, I don't like to reveal something at the end of a book and then be like, oh yeah, the end, have a good day. I reveal it in the middle of the book, and then everyone has to deal with that. And I love that.
You see the fallout.
What's that?
You see the fallout through the story. I get that. I like cliffhangers, and I think cliffhangers should be there. But I don't like when they do a cliffhanger, and then or something major's happened to close to the end, and then when you go into the next book, they sort of like start with it, and then they sort of move on to like the next book issues, and it's like, but this thing that just happened, like I want to see what's part of it because I've built up to it, and then the new book sort of just like fizzled it out because they want to get to something else, but they just did this cliffhanger to get you to the next book.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a fan of that. Like a good cliffhanger. See, personally, for me, I like a cliffhanger right at the end of the series because it's like we know there's no more books. Like as a reader, as an author, you know there's not another book coming, and you're just like, here's a grenade, right into the middle of your life. Like, come on, I want you to be angry enough. Like, not angry enough that you leave me a really nasty review, but I want you to be angry enough where you're going to like read my other books to see if there's more about that in those books. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm really after with that.
Well, it makes people want to. They know this book's finished, but they want there to be another book. So it keeps it in their mind. You know, that's it. But yeah, no, I do. I get that. That's a very good marketing plan. That is very. Yeah, I see what you're doing there.
We gotta make it happen any way we can. Otherwise, people get bored of us, right?
No, I like that. No, that's good. Okay, so are you planning on doing any other books not in this series? Have you?
I am. I actually going to step out of the military sci-fi world for a little while. I've got a 2-book series planned. So I don't know if you call it a series or just a duology, but yeah, I have 2 books planned that are supernatural horror.
Okay.
And then I also have a 3-book series that I'm going to be co-writing with another author named Eric Butler, and they're going to be a spinoff of the Ashes of Eternity series. And it's a how do you say, a prequel series that takes place and shows the events of the aliens that created humanity and what led up to the creation and the war that they fought with their allies or with their neighbors.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I don't want to go into too much spoilers about that. You pretty much give us a good rough idea, and with the other books, I can see how it ties in. Now, is there anything you can say about that other duology you want to?
Yeah, I have a Native American origins,
Okay.
and if anyone has ever read the Jim Butcher Dresden Files, if anyone's ever read those, they're going to want to read this because it takes a different spin on a group of people called the Skinwalkers or the Nagloshi, and it's going to get pretty interesting. That's about all I'm going to say. This one's kind of a top secret project. Not a terrible amount has been. I haven't put anything out about it yet, and I want to keep it that way as much as possible.
Oh, that's cool. It's just a bit of teasing going on. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how are you looking? What's your thoughts and feelings about co-writing? Obviously, you've not done that. I'm presuming. Have you? No.
I tried it once with.
Okay.
And it didn't go very well because the gal that I was going to co-write with, she's not a bad person in any capacity. She just has very different views than I do. So she kept going back and wanting me to change my main character to fit her main character. And I was like, but this isn't how this works. We're writing a Civil War story, a modern day Civil War story. And there's not a love story involved in that between 2 warring groups. Like that doesn't happen. Oh, it has. So the co-writing is definitely going to be interesting. Basically, what's going to happen with me and Eric is I'm going to kind of step back away from it, and I'm going to let him kind of take the lead on it. I'm going to give him kind of guidance and pointers. He's a brand new author. No books released yet. So this will be his first dabble into it, my first as well, of course. But basically, I'm going to guide the story and give him the story, and then he's going to write it. That's how it's going to be. Like, that story's not the right word. Outline, sorry. Outline is what I'm going to give to him. So he's gonna kind of sort that out and then fill in the gaps from there.
Okay, that sounds interesting. How did you 2 meet, and how did you sort of come about this sort of idea? Because as he's not released any books, You know what I mean? Like, how did this work out?
Well, what ended up happening is he actually bought Shockwave and Requiem, and he read both of them, and he said that he found some errors in them, which I employed a dubious means of editing, which I'm never going to do again. But so I went back and I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, whatever. And I got a paperback at one of my author copies, and I was like, oh crap, he's right. Like, I screwed up. And there are mistakes that the editors missed the first time around, and I was like, okay, that's bad. So I got to go fix that. And at first I was kind of like dubious. I'm like, okay, he's just a fan that's a little, irritated with the fact that I didn't edit them properly. And so I emailed him back, and we were civil with each other, and then he told me he was an aspiring editor and writer. And I was like, oh, well, show me what you got for, like a short story or something like that. And he sent it to me, and he was great. Like, blew me away. And I would put him on the level with like, probably Nathan Heistad, really great. But I started thinking about it. I was like, I really want to write this series, but with my full-time job and then writing my main series, writing these other books, I don't have time. And I'm just like, I really want to do this, but it's going to be years before I actually get the opportunity to sit down with this. So I called him up and I said, hey, are you interested in possibly doing like a 3-book series based on the Cetoplans and their home galaxy of Andromeda? Like, do you want to flesh this out? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Matter of fact, I have a meeting with him today via Skype. So hopefully we're going to hammer out some good details and have something started up here probably around Christmas time. We'll be releasing some cover art and stuff like that. So it should be pretty interesting.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. That sounds interesting. And because you'll still be able to do what you're doing, he can then do that with your assistance to keep it tied into your story, and then you're fleshing out your universe. And I like that because you're getting more out to the fans, because you've got yourself a nice little fan base who want your books, and giving them 2 books sort of thing. You know what I mean? I like that. That's good tactic again.
I'm trying. I don't do this for the money. I'm not interested in the money. Not to say that it's not nice. I mean, no question, having a little extra cash is always good for everyone. But I do this just because I want to be part of the community. That's what it really comes down to. I enjoy the community. I like being part of it. So I have a story to tell, and I hope that people enjoy my books and my stories. That's all I really care about. And if they don't, then I like to know that, so I can make better stories.
But the thing is, like, in the end, you can do this as a hobby, but if it gets picked up enough that there's a demand that they want more books, for you to make that transition, you need to be able to pay your bills. In the end, right. You know what I mean? And it's people will, they happily pay you if you're doing doing a good story. So you love doing what you're doing, but it's like any other trade. You've got to make your money to feed yourself, to be able to do what you're doing. No, that's good. Yeah. No, I like that. I'm happy. I think your books sound very interesting. I actually, I say this every time. Like, every time I hear a book, someone gives loads of information about a book, I'm like, oh, I want to know about the aliens, the fighting. Once this is finished, I'm going to ask some more questions. But is there anything else you want to say? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Okay. Where can people find you? How can they contact you?
I'm still working on the website. I'm not very good at websites, but I'm working on getting that set up. You can find me on Facebook. The author page is under author Jeremy Spires. You can find me on Facebook. Hit me up regular. I'm on Twitter at Jeremy_Spires. I always enjoy engaging with my readers, so if anyone wants to hit me up, I am more than happy to chat about it, whatever you guys like.
Okay, perfect. I'll put the information, the links in the description. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this interview. Thank you for coming on. It was a very good talk.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Joe.
No problem. Right. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and however you do it. Goodbye. Hang on. There should be a little thing. Look at that. We're live. Right.
All
okay.
Right. You lost the audio there for a second. Yeah, I lost the audio on you. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Right, okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to cut that in editing. We're going to do that again.